Welcome, everybody. We have Tonya Martin here today in our next edition of the MAT Practitioner Spotlight. And I'd like to welcome Tonya. She's here from Greensboro, North Carolina. And she's been a practitioner. She's another one that's a veteran. She's been in the process. She became a specialist in 2003. Got her mastery level in 2014, and then went on through the RX program. And with the RX program, she finished that certification in 2017. So again, she's one of the highest level practitioners. And you think, I mean, the time and commitment that it takes to go through and get this highest level of education, it's just a huge accomplishment. And so, Tonya, thank you for being here and taking the time to share your stories of MAT.
Thank you, Greg. I'm thankful to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's start with that. So 2003, I mean, we were all a lot younger then. And what were you doing when before MAT, and what led you into starting the program and getting into MAT?
Prior to MAT, I started my business, Get Fit Inc. Back in 1997. I worked for a company for about 5 years that specialized just in personal training. So my degree was in exercise physiology. I think the most profound thing that directed my path is one of my very first clients had polio. Working with her got me out of the box. She could not do what most people could do, and training with her just made me have to think differently. And working with her kind of led me into attracting clients with issues. And attracting the clients with issues, it led me down the path of, gosh, what can I do? These traditional things don't work for everyone. I think even about myself, I was born with muscle weaknesses in my left leg, and then I had a severed, my right leg was severed right at my tibial-femoral joint. So as an athlete, although I was good, I was limited because of my muscle weaknesses. So when I left high school, I knew I couldn't play competitively anymore. And I kind of left thinking, well, I always want to be able to do what I've always done. So that means I can't play competitively. That means I have to stay smart. I have to, take care of myself. I can't gain weight. And because I'd taken anatomy, I thought, well, I want to learn every muscle in the body. So when I went to college, that's what I did. The main thing that helped guide me in my thinking was that my professor, my senior year of college, told me that we fail the most. I thought about that for a long time. He never told me what that meant, but on the path of being a personal trainer, I learned what that meant. And that means I learned that we fail the most because people quit exercising. People get hurt. People get hurt because trainers put too much on a client too soon. People think they can do what the athletes do on television and they get hurt. With that, I think I started taking a lot of courses that would help guide me and direct me in helping them. When I was the manager of the company before I started my business, the owner recognized that I did things out of the box. And I remember he asked me one day, Tonya, why don't you sit down and write down everything that you do? And I thought, if he wants me to write down everything that I do, then I need to start my own business. When I did that, I started attracting all the clients with all the special needs. And because I already had the personal training background, I was encouraged to add Pilates to what I was doing. That was a game changer for me because I believe that training the core was very important. So with adding the Pilates to my training, I was successful at that. I continued on that path. I still wasn't satisfied. So then I pursued the post-rehab Pilates. That was a lot of work. It helped open my eyes to assessing and addressing and being, very careful and more mindful of working with people. Because it was a box, it was working with a lot of physical therapists. And when you put people in the box, to me, that limits you. So I still stayed frustrated. So I can remember, after I started my business in 1997, I went to a personal trainer conference, an idea conference, and I was already studying the functional training, cardiac rehab, all those things. But at this idea conference, I signed up for this class, muscle activation techniques. I had no idea what it was. So I remember walking into this lecture hall, and there you were at the front of the room demonstrating on a client. Before I got to this conference, I had studied, working with all these people, being great at keeping them stable, addressing their pain. I was frustrated because the pain kept coming back. They kept complaining. And so I realized exercise doesn't fix people. And so that's what I went to that conference with. When I saw you standing at the front of the room, working with this individual, I heard exercise doesn't fix people.
Right.
The room became small. It was like the house landing in Oz and Dorothy, saying, I'm not in Kansas anymore. Everything for me changed. When I heard that, and you said, if you don't have mobility with stability, if you don't have mobility with stability, oh my gosh, everything for me made sense at that moment. I can remember just pondering the whole process and not letting go of this 10-month internship in Denver, Colorado. And I finally I called Melanie at the time, your assistant, and talked with her about it, and I became convicted. And I just remember the amazing thing to me was being in that room filled with all these people, but then traveling to Denver to see that there were 35 people. So I was aware that this made sense to a small group of people at that time.
Right.
And so for me, beginning to my journey with MAT, that's when it happened. And because I already had a clientele, I was able to go to Denver, come back and practice on clients. And so that's why I've been able to be successful at sustaining and maintaining my clients. Now, has it been easy? Of course it's not. It has not.
Right.
Has MAT, the process been easy? Of course it hasn't. It's been a lot of work, like you said, work and dedication. And I still have clients who have been with me from the very beginning. And they say that, what would they be like? They wouldn't be who they are now. Some of them, they wouldn't be able to move. And I call it, deterring the oldness, So basically, that's how I got to where I am right now.
That's great. And when you say that about coming to Denver, like you're in this classroom that so 1997, I'm teaching a class.
Right.
One of the titles of one of the classes, I don't know if it's the one you were at, but I said there was no such thing as corrective exercise. because it's not the exercise that can actually reestablish the communication between the nervous system and the muscle system. I always say you have to jumpstart the muscle first, i.e. tighten the battery cables between the nervous system and the muscle system to allow those muscles to contract efficiently, so that when you do exercise, then it reinforces it. Like when you jumpstart the battery on your car, once you drive it, it reinforces it and makes it stronger. But if you don't jumpstart the battery first, you can turn the key to the ignition all you want and the car's not going to start. And so the body's the same way, that the corrective exercise, we see the strong get stronger and the weak stay weak, and you magnify the imbalances. So we get stronger in our compensation patterns when we're trying to do corrective exercises. Whereas once you get these muscles activated and make them a part of the process, where now every movement that you go through, they're involved now. They're firing on demand. They're no longer dormant, and they can be involved in the movement patterns. And then you follow it up with exercise, and it just reinforces it. And that's a big process when you say, okay, you're in this classroom, you hear this, and there's whatever, maybe there were 100 people in the class, and
Yes.
just hearing the concepts in a 1 to 2 hour lecture. Then you come to Denver, and like you said, it's a commitment. You were coming once a month. I mean, over a 10-month period, and I mean 8 3-day weekends over a 10-month period. I mean, what a commitment that was. And it was probably nice when you first came into class and come in once a month to be in a group of like-minded people.
Exactly.
Like where everybody, you come every week. I see that over the years, and everyone's so excited to gather together every month and work with each other, because you have the same principles and thought process and passion, if you want to say. I mean, that's a huge commitment. Anyone can take a weekend certification class, but you committed and finished not only a 10-month certification program, you went on and got mastery level and then RX level. That's, I mean, literally 6 to 8 years of education behind your belt that you've committed to, and that's medical school. I mean, that's the type of time people put in after college. That's the time people put in to go to higher degrees, and so congratulations on accomplishing what you've accomplished in the process. And I think that then I'd say, you go through the specialist, and I like that statement you said about what the professor say. I mean, we all fail. And I mean, have you ever failed in the process? And what do you learn? What do you learn from those failures? And where is it taking you from probably early on in your career and implementing the MAT principles? And like you said, it was a rough road to where you are now. And how much have you learned from every time? I mean, I always say every 6 months I look back and I can say, man, I've learned 10 times since that 6 months ago. And I wish I had that client back that was complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so how would you say your career's progressed as you've gone from specialist to mastery to the RX level?
Oh, wow. I think for sure, just, everything that the MAT toolbox offers pulled everything together for me. I think my humble beginnings gave me an idea of what things would be like, but unfortunately they didn't make sense. Like, I remember learning to stretch as an exercise physiologist, and I always, we share with my clients, I said, well, if you're going to the park or you're preparing for, whatever activity you're about to do, what if the boogeyman's about to get you? What if someone's going to chase you, down with a gun or whatever? You're going to say, oh, hold it, stop. I need to stretch. No, either you're ready, can your muscles, can you respond to that stress? And so, even for me running track, I can remember stretching I'm a loosey-goosey. My coaches didn't know that. Stretching made me not efficient. When I didn't stretch or when I was cold, that's when I my muscles contracted and I could run faster. So basically, I think one of my favorite things, toolbox, the range of motion exam. As soon as my clients walk through the door, I check them out. What are they doing? I pick up on what they're doing from the moment they walk into the door. Early on, how did you know? you touch people, you work with people, you go through this, you're supposed to do the protocol of stretching, warming up on the treadmill. Oh my goodness. All these things. How do you know what you're doing? How do you know what forces you're placing on that person? The MAT toolbox totally changed that for me. And it really made a difference. When you track people with neurodegenerative diseases or just neuromuscular deficiencies, you can't do those things. Even working with professional athletes, putting them on a treadmill, how do you know what you're doing? So just traveling, this journey that I've traveled on, the things that I did back then, I would never do now. And did I necessarily agree with those things back then? No, not necessarily. But MAT made sense of all those things. So, gosh, what's made a difference? Like I said, the MAT toolbox, it's amazing. I wouldn't take that for anything.
And
I preach it every day. Yeah.
And that's what's great. And I do say that in classes also. Because it's a complicated system with the interrelationships of joints and how the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip, the trunk, all the way to the occiput are all interrelated. And if you have abnormal motion at one joint, it can put increased stress on other joints and tissues. And so you said you're an exercise physiologist, and we coming from the exercise science side of it, we don't have the license to diagnose or treat pain. But we do have the ability to evaluate muscle function. And that range of motion exam is the key tool in the toolbox to say, wherever you see a limitation in range of motion, it's not because you're tight, it's because one or more of the muscles that cross that axis is potentially weak. And then you have the tools in your toolbox to assess which of the muscles that cross that axis, say relative to the limitation and range of motion, are actually weak. And the ones that are weak, we need to address and get those activated and get them a part of the movement pattern with the rest of them, get them along for the ride. And if they're not weak, then move on. And that idea, I don't care what you can do, I want to know what you can't do, because what you can't do is breaking you down. And like you said, you watch your clients all day long, and every time they come in, you see, oh, you can't turn to the right like you can turn to the left. Well, then we need to get the muscles working so you can more efficiently turn to the right, because that's that tightness is a protective mechanism. And if you did put enough force on the tissue, you're an injury waiting to happen. And so back to that toolbox idea is, I always say in classes, if plan A doesn't work, say because it is an integrated system, if plan A doesn't work, you say, oh, they're limited in their hip and that might be causing their back pain, and you get the muscles activated in the hip and it's like, man, they're moving better, but they come in the next week and their back's still hurting and the hip still has mobility and stability. And then you go to the foot and say, oh my God, they're so limited in dorsiflexion on this opposite side, and opposite side of their pain and far away from their pain. And all of a sudden you get the muscles activated that support the lower leg and foot, and they come in the next week and that was plan B. Plan A didn't work, but plan B, you come in and they're like, man, I don't know what you did, but you treated my foot and my back feels better. And that's the idea, is you have so many, MAT provides the tools to be able to say, all we want to do is make sure you're stable throughout your body. And a lot of times it's cumulative. We create stability in the hip and then the foot and then the core. And throughout the body, the better, more stable they are, movement by movement, joint by joint, the better they're going to feel. And so I like what you said, that you have clients that have been with you from the beginning. And it's like, it's not come in for it can be, we've all had clients that come in, they have a knee pain or something, you treat them and they say, oh my God, I felt better. After one session, but life beats us up. And the clients that commit to it, just like exercise, the clients that commit to it are the ones that are going to have the greatest success. Because in the same way, I had clients that saw me at my house 25 years ago that still see me to this day here in Denver. And literally now, 25 years ago, they're in their 50s and 60s and saying, man, I'm living life. I don't know what I'd be able to do if I didn't stay with this process. And while you see other people and all their friends with hip replacements and knee replacements and all these, issues because their body just continually broke down. So it's great the ones that commit to the process. And then I'd say, you sent me a testimonial from one of your clients the other day. And what I'd say is, out of all the experiences you've had over the years since you became certified in 2003, what would be the most significant impact that you feel you've made with the client? And like what the, I mean, that didn't, I mean, literally, I mean, change their quality of life. I mean, I mean, I think that's what we're all here for, is to help people. And when you can change someone's quality of life, that's so rewarding. Can you share one of those experiences with the audience?
I actually have a client who, she started out exercising with me, taking Pilates back in around 2013. I didn't realize at the time that she was diagnosed with, she'd been diagnosed with spinal meningioma, which is just a benign tumor. It's not just, it's a benign tumor in her spine, that they did radiation on. And as a result of the radiation, it basically degenerated the bone. So it caused her to have scoliosis. So as a result of that, before she started doing MAT with me, the doctor, her two choices was to put a rod in her spine or do exercise to strengthen the bones. So fortunately, the doctor that she had encouraged her to not go with the rod in her spine, because we all know what that does. So she opted to do exercise, and that's just the person that she is. So when she came to me, wow, she's just a person that is on fire, and that's how she described it. She's on fire. She can't sit down because of the scoliosis, and I guess she's been my client now since that started 10 years. Seeing that progression, she has stayed committed to do Pilates one day and do MAT another day. So twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. What's been amazing with her is to see her come in, walk through the door. She used to be able to be in a class, and then to realize that the springs on the equipment fired her up. The last time she did a class, she had to walk out. She couldn't even finish the class. She had to walk out the door. And that's when we had to start just doing privates and just doing the MAT. Basically, to see her, she's 78, she'll be 79 this year. When she walks through that door, I look at her and I see her. I mean, what this has done to her spine, and what it has done to her right leg. It has caused a foot drop, kind of like the story that I shared with you. With that foot drop, it has just limited her. She went through a period that she couldn't even drive a car. She had to actually get an Uber just to come see me, because she had no control over her right foot. So as I reflect back, my favorite class, what happens when the foot hits the ground? That changed my life. I love the foot. You look at all the joints in the foot. When you first introduced that class, I just thought, do people realize that their feet are their mode of transportation? I took that class 3 times, just trying to get my mind around all the responsibility of what goes on when your foot hits the ground. This is what has helped this 78-year-old client, and what has helped the other client that I told you. Being able to work on their feet when nobody else has been able to. I mean, some days I stand sideways trying to line up the joints just to get her foot in the right position to activate it. And she looks at me like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you see it. And it's just what we have to do. These 78 and 79-year-old clients can still walk because of MAT. A lot of work, a lot of stress, keeping my sense of humor and helping them. Because I've been able to help her with FootRx, being able to help her because of those skills, it's just been amazing. And I guess, what she shared with me is, it's like she just went to see her brother in Charlotte 2 weeks ago. And because she missed the train and slept on the sofa, she came back and her body was on fire. So having the skills of MAT along with the RX, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That term you use, adapting on the fly. I have to adapt on the fly every time she walks through the door. I don't know what I'm gonna do with her.
Right.
And, you know, I just stay calm. And that's what you said. You have to be able to stay calm. You have to be able to stay patient. You have to see that person when they walk through the door and give them what they need on that day. It's not a prescription. It's not a box.
Right.
And so every day, you know, every opportunity that I work with her and see her, I adapt on the fly. And I have to tell you, she stays hopeful now because of her scoliosis. What can I do about that? I keep the muscles activated. I keep her going. The one thing that she says is that, you know, there are plenty of things I can't fix, but by addressing the things I can change, she never wonders about this. She never questions this. You know, I just do what I can. And, you know, by staying positive and giving her, you know, what she needs that day, she's still in the game. She's looking toward probably having to have one more surgery as a result of the foot drop, as a result of the scoliosis compressing this nerve that affects her right leg. You know, again, what's exciting is she can come in on Monday and I'm able to address that weakness. I'm able to keep her, you know, going so that she can go outside and take her walks. That's exciting to me. I'm excited that, you know, because she wants to take a little trip, because of that spinal compression, being able to do RX and do my checks and balances and take her all the way through to get her glutes fired up to relieve that pressure in her right hip, her glutes. It gets her out of pain. And she says that alone is everything. You know, I can't, as she says, there are plenty of things I can't fix, but what I can change, I do.
Yeah, that's great. And again, it comes down to quality of life.
Yeah.
You're talking somebody that had cancer and degeneration because of the radiation. And I mean, so there's so many things that are so far out of our ability to change. But if you can improve I guess the word is fix. I mean, people, hey, can you fix somebody with scoliosis? They're like, fix is a loaded word. And I always say life's going to beat us up. And from a neuromuscular standpoint, somebody has to be there to put you back together. And this woman, and I mean, it sounds like, I mean, she be like the physicality of just because of the state she's in, life beats her up, but she has the solace of knowing that I can go get put back together so I can feel better and then improve my quality of life. And that's really the key. And I can see it as you talk about it, that's your passion. And what is rewarding about doing this as a career is that, I mean, you're able to help somebody, and that's rewarding. And it's funny because you start seeing like someone like that, I'm sure she's dependent on you. She goes on that trip and comes back and like, I need to get in with Tonya so I can feel better. And what better, it's not a Band-Aid, it's not fixing her because she's, I mean, 78 years old with a history. But one of the things is people get on that downward spiral that we relate to aging. And the nice thing about MAT is we can literally, through improving muscle function, we can stop that downward progression, start to get them back to where their body can function at a higher level. And then they have less pain and a higher quality of life. Doesn't mean we fix them. It means that we've improved their neuromuscular abilities, and which in turn can increase range of motion, reduce pain, and improve function. And that's the goal of this whole process. And I've seen it's rewarding to me every day. I've been doing this. I mean, I still look at it every day and I shake my head like, wow, this is enjoyable. And so I think that we'll finalize with this is what recommendations would you have if somebody's in the health or exercise field, the rehab field, to say, why would you pursue MAT? I mean, why would it be worth somebody wanting to get educated in MAT, even if they have a clinical background like physical therapy or chiropractic? Like, what would you say would be the value of bringing MAT into the present thought process?
Just because we recognize the muscular system,
Mhm.
it is the perfect adjunct to me. I mean, the goal is to be able to work with other modalities. I think having this tool to work with in conjunction with what you already have, wow, I think it takes your career to another level because you're taking into a perspective of what I've seen. I never heard anyone talk about the muscular system prior to muscle activation techniques. I
Mhm.
continue to meet people that are still amazed that I do what I do because they've never heard of it.
Mhm.
So I think to add this to your toolbox, wow, when you think that muscles precisely move the joints, that's everything, and realizing as, being a personal fitness trainer for, over 25 years, exercise doesn't fix people. You have to understand the role of the muscular system. Even with PTs, unfortunately, I did not want to be a physical therapist because of the box. I think MAT adds the ability for you to get out of the box. So you have this protocol I consider with PT. If you have the tools that MAT add to it, what a perfect adjunct. Yes, it's a lot of work, but I think with the work that you've already put into being a PT or a chiropractor, MAT adds to it and gives it, to me, the missing link is that missing component that you need to actually be able to address a person as a whole. And I think that is what is missing in the community of wellness. I think looking at a person and helping them, if you have not considered the muscular system, you have totally, you just missed this important thing. And I think, in the community of where I live, surgery is a major option.
Mhm.
One of the things that we do is prepare people for surgery, help people post-surgery. If
Mhm.
you have this tool in your toolbox, it gives you a lot more things to work with. I think your career becomes limitless as far as every day on a day-to-day basis, what you're able to address with the client. We never get bored because there's always something to do. And I know I have clients that come in and give me a checklist of things. Do I get to all those things? I just shake my head sometimes. And, so again, with that being stated, MAT is just an amazing body of work that gives you tools to work with, no matter, what you're doing, chiropractor, PT, personal trainer. It just gives you this perfect adjunct to fill in those gaps that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And that's great to hear. And it's great to see the success you've had with MAT. I mean, watching you since 2000, well, 97, since you came to those first classes, but since 2003, going through the specialist when I taught all those classes. And so obviously we have more of a personal relationship, and it's been great to see how your career has grown and what you've been able to do. And I've referred clients and always get such positive feedback from the clients that I've sent to you. And so thank you for being a part of it. And thanks for taking the time to share your story today.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. We're complete. We're done. That was good.
Thank you. All righty.
Yeah. Thank you. How's everything else?
I just look forward to coming back to Denver, even for myself, as you know, not having a practitioner near me, I need an MAT. Looking forward to learning the STEM program and just to see what that's about. And I just wonder, is that going to require like having another practitioner be here to work with, or, what does that look like?
Yeah, not really that you need another practitioner. The nice part is it's still using the tools of the RX process, but it literally puts RX on steroids, because using the electric stim as you identify and lock into a pattern, the stim, saves time and creates efficiency where you don't have to go muscle by muscle, test every muscle. At the right moment in time, when you apply the stim, it actually brings back all the muscles in a pattern. So you can get so much done in such a quicker, shorter period of time and get great results with it. And It's not for every client. It's, I mean, some of you got you're putting pads on people in the origin insertion areas, and there's some of them that there's just clients I know, you know what, this is somebody I would not be comfortable with it, and other people that it's like, I have no problem. They're comfortable with it. You can tell them, here, put the pad here, or I mean, it's like the more, I mean, it's more about comfort and trust. And so the experienced clients are the ones that you'll be able to work with. But literally, like I said, it's RX on steroids, because you can get so much more done. And instead of having to treat like side bend, that's the full session. Now you can get side bend done in 10 minutes, like 10, 15 minutes, like any other pattern.
Wow.
And so it's pretty cool.
Okay. And so with promoting the school, I mean, what is the goal? So a lot of this being taught online.
The school with Broadview, you mean? Yeah. So Broadview, I mean, it's literally, it's actually, we started it up prior to COVID happening, which was a blessing, because COVID would have shut down our whole education program. I mean, you see with RX, it did. Right. And I was hesitant about it. It was after we had the regulatory stuff because of the lawsuit, and they tried to make false claims at MAT. We were ripping people off with our education. Same people that taught the program, I mean, were now saying that we were ripping people off. And then, I mean, it was just, I mean, stupid. But so they went and made a claim, and that's why we had all the regulatory stuff. Well, the regulatory components are what educated colleges are faced with. And we were put in that same category. And so we had to adapt, and just from MAT alone, the people, the resources, the costs, everything to keep our classes going and stay under the regulatory agencies was a lot. And regulatory requirements, I should say, and a lot to go against. And having somebody I mean, you got a lot increased liability that way too. So with Broadview, having the people that we're specialists in MAT, they're specialists in, I mean, education, providing education. And so with Mindy Meyer, Mindy Shannon now, Mindy and Troy, I've known their family forever, and we've always worked on maybe tying this in with the education program. And now MAT has degree programs through the colleges, where people can get financial aid and student loans, and if they start from square one. Yeah, so it's accredited. I mean, now MAT's accredited at the government level and recognized in that manner. So it's a huge advantage with MAT, and then tying it into the online programs. I was resistant for years. Mindy would talk to me about it for years, and like, online, you need to have the hands-on component. But when they're studying at home and getting videos and practicing over and over and over, and then when they come in for their practical weekends, it's like they're not just learning it for the first time and getting overwhelmed. I mean, think back when you took the specialist program, you come in for a weekend and you get overwhelmed with all the information, and then you move on from lower body to upper body and you get overwhelmed more. They're literally practicing and they get certified at every level. So if they do lower body, then they come in, do the practical weekend, and they have to prove their skills at that level and test out before they, can get certified at a body part level. And so we never did that. We tested out at the end. And but what we've started finding is, wow, these people come in so prepared. And then when they do the practical application weekend, they're just working on details. And then when they test out, people have tested out way better than they ever did in the 8-day weekend program.
Gotcha. So it's body part by body part.
Yeah, and they're studying at home on their own time. And they have homework, and they have to turn in homework and do projects and everything. So it's not like, oh, you go back in between weekends, and some people never even practiced or studied or anything. You can't move on if you don't, meet all the credentials that you need to do before each weekend. So before each practicum weekend. So it's actually been a real good thing for the education process of MAT.
Oh, that's great to hear. Okay, because I thought for sure, like, because I met a guy from Pinehurst that was said he couldn't afford to come out
Mhm.
like I did, but it sounds like maybe this is,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Okay,
like we've had, I mean, pro trainers and strength coaches and things that it just doesn't fit into their schedule. They can't come out 10 months. Now some of these trainers and strength coaches are able to do it because it says, oh, on my time off, I can go through lower body, or I can take one part of the body and get certified in that part. So now it makes it more accessible because they only have to come out for each body part one time. And they learn everything on their own. They can be
Wow.
traveling, staying in hotels and doing their online projects. And so it's definitely more accessible for people to learn a better education.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's accessible, isn't it? So it
Yeah.
actually can reach more people.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's
That's-
the whole idea. And like I said, and then quality, the end product of the practitioners, we're definitely bringing out more qualified people through the online program just because of the way it's structured than we ever did. Not in a
Wow.
bad way from before, but it's like there's more accountability on the student and they have
Okay.
to prove their skills, like I said, before they move on. So
Okay.
it's been a good change.
Okay.
Yeah, which, like I said, then when COVID hit, man, if we didn't have it,
If you hadn't done that, you already
who
had
knows-
it.
right, who knows what we would have done, and I mean, with the education side.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
that's great to hear. So everything's going great out at headquarters.
Yeah, it's good. We got the RX class this weekend, so
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
yeah, so we got 30 people coming in this weekend, and the big
Okay.
ones, are you signed up September or?
September. Yeah.
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 So that will be a big one. We got to knock down a wall to make that one happen. Got a lot
Oh,
of
really?
people
So
signed
most
up
of
for that one.
after September.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we'll be
Okay.
good to- Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, good. I look forward to having you back out here.
Yes, sir.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks for doing this. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.